Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Run. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We're going to have a great show for you today, folks. It's one of those crazy times. We're all locked up inside. Some people are going crazy. I see some crazy things on social media, Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, everywhere. But you know what, folks? We are going to have a good show. We're going to start talking about things that are of import to you. We're going to start talking about things that are very, very important. But you know what? To get started, I want to get us into the right frame. But actually, before we get started, I don't know how many of you know the Prime Minister of England, the Prime Minister of the UK, actually. This was the guy who, along with a quack doctor, came out and started talking about creating herd immunity by just letting the coronavirus walk through their system and let it go. Sad to say that the Prime Minister and his girlfriend, his pregnant girlfriend, now have the virus. The thing about it is, this should not have been. This should not have been. Yes, I am going to talk about hydroxychloroquine. Absolutely. You know I'm going to do that. We'll talk about that, and you can bring your stuff in as well, my dear friend Michael Rodnan. Anyway, look, here's the deal. Boris Johnson, Prime Minister of the UK, he's one of those that were promoting that. And we always talk about, you know, I tell you what, I want to hold back on this and take it further into the show. But a lot of the non-scientific thinking, those people that think that they can go ahead and make decisions not based on science, hurts us all. But I'll get there. Let's go ahead first and start with how Chuck Todd started Meet the Press on Sunday. One of the better ones. Welcome aboard, Derek Ball. Welcome aboard, Derek Bell. So I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side. Chuck Todd had today on Meet the Press one of the most effective and necessary excoriation of the president and what he has done since the beginning of the coronavirus pandemic. This is well done. Take a look at it.
The week began with two national reckonings on the coronavirus. The first is where we're headed. As of this morning, there are more than 300,000 confirmed cases in the United States and well over 8,000 deaths. The federal government is now acknowledging that in a best-case scenario, somewhere between 100,000 and 240,000 Americans are likely to die from this virus. One point of comparison, that's more Americans than died fighting in Korea and Vietnam combined. As you can see, the United States, that's the soaring red line in this graphic here, trails the world in flattening the pandemic's curve, which brings us to the second reckoning, the government's performance. Like President Trump insisting for weeks that the coronavirus was no worse than the flu. Like the lack of testing, the big one, starting with the botched CDC test kit. Like the government's inadequate stockpile of ventilators, gowns, and other personal protective equipment. Like the mixed messaging on face masks, the CDC recommending them, the president refusing to wear one. Like disbanding the National Security Council's pandemic team in 2018. The bottom line is the government has been telling us it's been in control of the virus, when in fact it is the virus which has been in control of us.
Medical providers, first responders, and state officials are pleading with the federal government for more help.
Every state is saying the same thing. I need help. I need assistance.
But this week, the Trump administration repeatedly sent governors the message, don't look to us first.
The notion of the federal stockpile was it's supposed to be our stockpile. It's not supposed to be state stockpiles that they then use.
By Friday, the HHS website describing the national stockpile had been altered from saying it had enough supplies to respond to multiple large-scale emergencies simultaneously correctly, to reading its role is to supplement state and local supply as a short-term buffer.
I don't know if Jared Kushner knows this, but it's called the United States of America, and the federal government, which has a stockpile, is supposed to be backstopping the states.
9 governors are still declining to enact stay-at-home order, and Mr. Trump is refusing to direct them to do so, despite recommendations from his own public health officials.
I just don't understand why we're not doing that. We really should be.
The government's advice has changed over time. Americans were told not to wear masks. Now the CDC is recommending they wear non-surgical masks or face coverings in public. On Friday, the president immediately made it clear he is not going to follow that guidance.
You can do it. You don't have to do it. I'm choosing not to do it.
Americans were told only older people or those with compromised immune systems were at risk. In fact, 21% of deaths and nearly half of patients admitted to the ICU have been Americans under 65, according to early CDC data. Americans were told testing was widely available.
Anybody that needs a test gets a test. They're there.
Even now, there have been just 1.6 million tests conducted nationwide, a fraction of what experts say is needed. In fact, for months, the president played down the virus, misrepresenting the fact.
One person coming in from China, and we have it under control. It looks like by April, in theory, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away.
This week, he reversed course on his rosy projections, acknowledging the U.S. death toll could be staggering, while attempting to claim
100,000 is, according to modeling, a very low number. On the show, hundreds of thousands of people are going to die. You know what I want to do? I want to come way under the models. The professionals did the models. I was never involved in a model, but at least this kind of a model. At least this kind of a model.
Now, it is important to note, Chuck Todd went fact after fact after fact. The one thing that he didn't do that I hoped he would do is do some interpretation on the facts. Specifically, one, war profiteering. A lot of this incompetence is not solely incompetence, but the idea to ensure that the price of equipment, the price of medical supplies go up on a bidding process to enrich their benefactors. I wish he would have come down a bit more to explain to the American people that this is not solely incompetence on the part of the government, but it's also the definition of how our economic system works, that even in a pandemic, when humanity should come first, what they think about first is the dollar bill. What they think about first is profits for a few. Okay, folks, now here's the deal. I want to play over that little piece. I did it as a separate video as well. I want you to really get the pathology of that occurs within this guy, because we're talking about the potential deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, and this is what he had to say.
Hundreds of thousands of people are going to die. You know what I want to do? I want to come way under the models. The professionals did the models. I was never involved in a model, but at least this kind of a model. At least this kind of a model. The professionals did the models. I was never involved in a model, but at least this kind of a model. But you know what? Hundreds of thousands of people, they say they're dead. I want much less than that. I want none, but it's too late for that. But I want very few people relative to what the models are saying. Those are projections. I hope they're wrong. I hope we're going to be under those projections.
Okay, Mike Cisak, that has been disputed about Obama leaving stockpiles low. And even if Obama left stockpiles low, the president has been president for over 3 years. He's almost done with it, his administration. If that were low, he could have gone ahead and said, oh, Obama left all our stockpiles low, and went ahead and did something about it. Stop trying to protect a man that is killing your family, your friends, your acquaintances, and even those you don't like. Please, please. It doesn't matter. Let me postulate, Mr. Cisak, that you're right. He has been there for almost 4 years. Why didn't he do what he needed to do? I'll tell you another story that I wrote. That actually I didn't write the story. I got the story from ProPublica that should quiet that completely. But anyhow, here's the deal, folks. If you're just joining us, please be sure to share this program right now, because it is imperative that we go deeper than what we have the mainstream media is doing, because they have to say, well, this side said this and the other side said this. even though what they need to be doing right now is simply saying everything that the president says is basically a lie. And we need to be sure to make that very, very, very clear. We have a president who is a bona fide liar, and it is imperative that we let people understand that we know our president is a liar and that we are not going to fall for that. This is not this side says this and the other side says that. We have a liar as a president. Punto y final. No hay nada más que decir. He is a liar. Anyhow, going with item number 3. Going with item number CSAC, if you can specify a lie that I'm saying, please tell it. Because everything that I say is backed up by proof. And if I don't have absolute proof, I would then say, I think or maybe I got it from this source or the other. I am not lying. I think it is essential for those people that are listening to the program that you don't just take what I say at face value. You don't just take what other people say at face value, that you go ahead and justify it. Anyhow, let's go ahead and talk about number 3. When you see old-time good Republicans, I mean, I don't agree with these people. But when you see they stand up and they take a permanent issue with the president, and folks, if you're just joining us, please be sure to go ahead and give us a share. And for those of you that are on YouTube, if you want to help the show, just go ahead and click that $ and give us a super chat. Okay, folks, my good friends, here is the video. Donald Trump gave a press conference today, and MSNBC spent a whole lot of time with this press conference. They could not be any more excoriating than they were. I want you to listen to this, and let's take it on the other side.
We've been watching Donald Trump. He took the lead at today's coronavirus task force briefing. Big headline today, likely to be the president saying this will probably be the worst week. He said a lot of other stuff too, some of it nonsensical, some of it incoherent, some of it not consistent with what his doctors have had to say.
It is extraordinary late on a Saturday afternoon to be watching the president of the United States at a news conference when the country is substantially locked down, 92% of Americans, and to deliver this angry outburst of grievance, of hurt about his self-interest at a moment in time where minutes before he's alluding to the projections where hundreds of thousands of Americans will be dead, largely because of the slow and inept response of the Trump government to dealing with this crisis. And so I think this whole news conference shows someone so completely over his head for the magnitude of what's in front of the country. It was incoherent. It was rambling. There's no specifics. There's boogeymen and grievances all over the place, from the unnamed governors to the unnamed healthcare workers who are hoarding the supplies. It really looks almost mentally like he's unraveling under the pressure.
If we take a look at what he did in this press conference, he endangered the lives of many. I'm putting that in a subsequent video for all to see. I'm Egberto Willies, host of... Okay, folks. So as you can see, that is a well-respected Republican. Again, like I said, I don't particularly like him because, again, he's a conservative who does not believe in a good social safety net. These guys have blinders on. They can't see that the capitalist system is really an extractive system, but we can talk about that at another time. By the way, Señor Eric, let's see, your name is Eric Ingram. Eric, I have not seen that article that you're mentioning about. I'm looking through all the sources here, and I failed to see it. So if you would go ahead and put that article in your feed again, I would be more than happy to during the other video. But what you see is what he considers, Steve Schmidt, what he considers a mental instability of the president. I think a lot of times that is more of a, what should I say? That is more of a performance, right? In other words, if you can attribute a lot of what Trump is doing to narcissism, yes, he's a narcissist, but also attribute it to his incompetence, yes, he's incompetent, and also attribute it to that he's not very smart, yes, that he's not very smart. That said, what you have to say is, but he's doing most of this for profit. I mean, in all of these, is in the incompetence, in the narcissism, in all of these issues, he's doing it for profit. I want you to listen to this, numero cuatro. If you want to see the war profiteering and the fraud that's occurring under the Trump administration and the masks and getting this medical equipment to our first response, check this out.
Donald Trump brought the imagery of war into the White House briefing today in the person of a Navy admiral who seemed to bring good news about the delivery of 200,000 masks to New York City hospitals.
The 200,000 is going out as we
very
speak.
specific about that.
It'll be delivered tomorrow.
That's a question.
Let me be clear on that if I can. What Jared announced, what the Admiral just unpacked, is that pallets are being loaded right now to send 200,000 N95 masks to New York City, to the public health hospitals.
To the public health warehouse in New York City.
All the healthcare workers, help is on the way.
We have no idea where help is actually going to go because in questioning by White House reporters, it turns out those masks are not being delivered by the federal government to any hospitals at all. No hospitals. Those masks are being distributed to commercial distributors, profit makers, who will then sell them to the highest bidder, including bidders in foreign countries.
This product that we're moving is primarily commercial product that would enter the commercial system and be distributed through financial business transactions between hospitals and these distributors.
So just to clarify, that explains why states say they're bidding like they're on eBay, because the supplies are going to the private sector, and then they have to go there to get the supplies.
That's normally how things work, right? So I'm not here to disrupt a supply chain.
Disrupting the supply chain is exactly what you are supposed to do in war. Disrupting the supply chain is exactly what the governors and hospitals are asking for. They are asking the federal government to take complete control of this process, not leave it to the war profiteers who have states bidding against each other, only to then have the federal government come in and suddenly outbid them all on masks that they delivered to that warehouse. And when the federal government buys those masks back, as it might, we're finding that states that vote for Donald Trump and have Republican governors who Donald Trump aligns himself with get whatever they want.
Now, that is a shame, right? That is a shame. You saw how Mike Pence said, help is on the way. Help is on the way, as if they're doing something for the first responders, for the emergency room personnel, for the caretakers. No, these masks are going to warehouses. And when they get to warehouses, then the capitalist system bids on it. Hey, how much do you want for these masks? Okay, we'll buy X amount for this amount of money. This is sad. This is inhumane. Folks, we have extortionists in this White House. We have an extortionist running the government. We have people who care nothing about humanity running the government. We have a lot of work to do. Yes, we have a lot of work to do. Yes, we have a lot of work to do. But let me tell you, we can actually get it done. I think going forward, right? I mean, people have a tendency to believe that somehow this president, these are all accidental. These are all accidental things. In other words, he goes up and he starts to push something on, and you have to sit back and wonder, what exactly is the rationale behind? Let me tell you something, guys. I have a wife with lupus. She's had lupus for over, I don't know, several decades. No, my daughter's 28, so she had it 2 decades plus. Okay, and she's been on the what is it drug called hydro, and you know Michael Rudnin wanted to talk about that rather quickly. Hydroxychloroquine. It's also called Plaquenil, right? It is to moderate the effects of lupus, the inflammation, etc., etc. And now they've been trying it with coronavirus, and he is just wanting to go manufacture a whole bunch of it and keep it in a stockpile. No, you got to ask yourself why. I want you to listen to this and show you why. What he is actually doing is very dangerous. Check this out.
The hydroxychloroquine is I hope it's going to be a very important answer. We're having some very good things happening with it. There's a study out that people with lupus aren't catching this horrible virus. They're not affected so much by it. Now, maybe that's correct. Maybe it's false. You're going to have to check it out. But there's a lot of very positive things happening with that. That's a game changer if that's the case.
I was wondering about what you're seeing as far as lupus patients in regards to coronavirus. I know the president mentioned this earlier, but what does the medicine say?
What is the question? Is that what is the incidence of coronavirus?
If you have lupus, do you have a greater chance of getting coronavirus?
Right now, this is being looked at in a natural history study. We don't have any definitive information to be able to make any comment on that, but that's something that is now being looked at, but we don't have any data to be able to say anything.
And I hope they use the hydroxychloroquine, and they can also do it with Z-Pak, subject to your doctor's approval and all of that. But I hope they use it because I'll tell you what do you have to lose? In some cases, they're in bad shape. What do you have to lose? It's been out there for a long time. They're going to look at work with doctors, get what you have to get. But we have it stockpiled. We have a lot of it. But I've seen some results. Now, it's early, I guess. It's early, and they should look at the lupus thing. I don't know what it says, but there's a rumor out there that because it takes care of lupus very effectively, as I understand it, it's a drug that's used for lupus. So there's a study out there that says people that have lupus haven't been catching this virus. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Why don't you investigate that? I don't know. You're going to check it out. But I think people should, if it were me, in fact, I might do it anyway. I may take it.
Understand what this guy just did. Understand what this guy just did. This guy just went and told all those people that have lupus that he's heard, there's a rumor out there that if you have lupus, and you are on Plaquenil, which is I always have a way of saying it incorrectly. Hydroxychloroquine, which is Plaquenil. If you're on that drug, somehow you are immune to the coronavirus because you are on this particular disease. And that is the reason why I've been stockpiling it. I've spoken to Modi, his buddy from India, another right-wing guy from India, and he said, oh, yes, we are going to make the Plaquenil for you. And not only are we going to make the Plaquenil for you, but you can store it and start selling it to your people. And he's telling the people now, like an advertising for Plaquenil. Hey, guys, go to your doctor. Tell the doctor you want Plaquenil. Well, these things have an effect. Now, I posted a story. A lot of people are now disputing whether the story is real or not because there's a GoFundMe that was set up for a woman who several weeks ago was complaining about this coronavirus being a hoax and all that sort of thing. And it turns out now, according to the story that was put out by Pathos, that she died. And as she died, that when she died from coronavirus, from some sort of kidney failure or something like that. So what I did is I reposted that story and then I added some stuff to it that I discussed with my daughter. Some people said the story is a hoax. Okay, I have not been. We were able to confirm that the person did exist, etc. But we don't. Again, we reposted a story that has legitimacy as far as the intonation is concerned, and I think it's actually real. So, but we'll see. Let me go ahead and play that story, and then we'll take it on the other side. But it's important. The concept is very important, and we'll take it on the other side. A Texas woman lost her life to COVID-19. But the interesting thing about this is a death that apparently didn't have to be. I ran across a story today on Pathos. It was written by the progressive humanist. It says, Texas woman who claimed COVID-19 was a media-driven hoax dies from the virus. And he says, MAGA Karen Coeb-Selk, a Trump-loving woman from Texas, is dead from COVID-19 after claiming the virus was a media hoax. And where did she get that information? Why would she think that? The right-wing media, Donald Trump, all these people have been trying to put out that this virus was a hoax and that somehow it is some liberal left-wing thing that's going on. And these people believe it. These things have consequences. What the right wing is doing to its people. These are our brothers and sisters out there. Some of them are willfully ignorant. Some of them are just easy and gullible. She goes out and she wrote long rant. I try not to live under a rock. However, I also try my best to pay attention to my surroundings. Our government is under attack from within. Think about what has transpired. And she goes and she talks about this disease, this virus, as if it's a hoax and a joke. Where did she get that again? We know where she got that. She got that from the president. She got that from the right-wing media. Now here's the thing. It has consequences. Now she dies. I feel for her family. I feel for her husband. I feel for her kids. They put out a GoFundMe to raise some money, I guess, to take care of her expenses. Initially, the GoFundMe had a statement that said she died from kidney failure. She tested positive for COVID-19 according to what was written on the GoFundMe, and that the kids are going to be tested. That also listed on the GoFundMe. But it turns out that the new GoFundMe has all of that taken off the screen. Yeah, that's their right. But the reason we're bringing this story up is because it's not an isolated incident. A few days ago, I wrote another story about a family who went on a cruise because Governor DeSantis of Florida said it was okay. The coronavirus was no big deal. Go ahead and travel. Don't change your life. Another couple in Phoenix, Arizona. They heard the president talk about this malaria drug. So they found this malaria drug and they went ahead and take it with the expectation because they heard the president said that it could prevent or stop the coronavirus. They went ahead and took it. The husband died. The woman is in critical condition. The hoaxes, the misinformation, the lies that the right wing is telling to its people has consequences. People die, people get hurt, people get sick. The pandemic is worse than it needed to be. Had we done what we had to do to stop it in its tracks, we could have done it, but we didn't because we had a president that said, oh, it will be gone in 15, it'll be gone soon, it'll disappear miraculously. It's like the flu. Daughter sent me an article, Coronavirus Unique Threat to the South, where it explains all the things, the health conditions of a large percentage of people in the South, the racial composition of the South, that shows that when this virus really metastasizes in the South, what it's going to be like, how bad it's going to be, especially since it's a lot of these governors in the South that refuse to do anything about really trying to keep its population sequestered. So it's likely going to be more deadly in the South. And if we want an example of that, Louisiana, New Orleans. My daughter became very cynical. After she pointed this out to me, I wrote the following. I said, great article. You once talked to me about natural selection. I thought you were being too cynical. But as I watched the willful ignorance of many still supporting a president whose policy kill, natural selection may necessarily thin the population of the gullible, which in fact makes the whole weaker. The only issue is how many of the strong are inadvertently taken down by the errant sneeze. Anyway, we stay at home, wear masks on the outside. Irrespective of a lacking president's words, we create those tight circles of the trusted who follow protocol, and we do not go to work in unsafe environments. This means we must assist those who in these difficult times need assistance. Great find, Miiha. All we can do is continue to try to talk to these folks. But what the right-wing media, what the president, and what the corporations are doing to these people in order to attain a mean that actually hurt them more than it hurts anybody else is vile, it's immoral, and it should stop. I continue to wonder why this story didn't make bigger news. The people who have been convincing these folks to be gullible, to believe in these hoaxes, to believe in these lies, they don't care about them. They are just there for a purpose. They are just there for a purpose. And that's what I want the right-wingers to understand. Even my brothers and sisters from the right wing that listens to my shows every day. My brother Mike Cisak, they don't care about you. Do you think that the right wing cares about you, Mr. Cisak, more than I do with the policies that I want that would benefit you as a farmer as well, Brother Cisak? Do you really believe that, Cisak? When you come out here, my brother, here in my show every day, and you say, oh, I'm lying about this or I'm doing this, do you really think the policies that I'm supporting, is there to hurt you or benefit you. I think deep in your heart, you know better. And also, that is why you're here, because you know that I'm on your side. Before I go to the last video, what I want to do is go through all the things that you guys have been saying. And folks, if you're just joining us, I ask these so kindly, please go ahead and share these programs. It is essential if we are going to get the truth out there, if we are going to start ensuring that people really start thinking on their own, if we're going to ensure that, guess what? It's not impossible for people to change. Everybody can change. Everybody can start looking out for themselves. Anyhow, so let me go ahead and talk to some of you. If you also want to call in, you can always call 646-716-5812. Again, that is 646-716-5812. Anybody wants to call in. Michael Rudnan, yes, I know quite a bit about the side effects on Plaquenil, which is a hydroxychloroquine. My wife is on that. It affects the eyes. Actually, it can cause bad vision in the nerves, etc. And it can cause heart attacks. It can cause palpitations. It can cause all these things. This isn't the drug that you should just say, oh, let me go ahead and take it as the president wants. Oh, I may even take it myself. I am sorry. The president is a clear and present danger to us all. Because if he's advising people to just willy-nilly go take Plaquenil, if he's telling lupus people that, oh, rumor has it that if you have lupus, you can't get coronavirus because you're on Plaquenil. That is ridiculous. Thank you, Derek Bell. Yes, I'll keep up the good work. Rudnan says we crossed 10,000 deaths today. Sadly, we have, and I can almost guarantee by the end of the day, we'll be over 11,000, sadly. Bruce, you are locked up, my brother. You are locked up, and you must stay locked up, brother. Just like I am locked up, you're locked up. There, I need some orange juice. I need a few things that are just cold. And I told my wife, you know what? We can use the frozen orange juice or the frozen lemonade, I think is what I saw her do. We don't need to leave the house right now. It's kind of hot right now. We don't know. Texas is not doing the kind of testing it should be doing. So we don't know what's here in Kingwood. We don't know what's here in Houston. Our great county judge, Lina Hidalgo, is working as hard as she can. But again, doesn't have all the things that she needs. Kathleen Hayes. Because he lied, people died. Yes, it's all a hoax. It'll be gone soon. It's all a hoax. You're correctly right. He is a hoax. Lawrence Sims, are the Trumps engaged in profiteering? Brother Sims, you know the answer to that. Derek Bell, if he didn't lie from the start, just wonder how many wouldn't have died with that. What a disgrace. You're so right, Brother Bell. Brother Rudnan, replying to Kathleen, are you talking about Corona? Yes, I think that's a conversation between the two of you. Mike Cizek says, Obama and Biden left our stockpiles dangerously low. Let's postulate that Mike Cizek is correct. Donald Trump has been the president for 3 years and 3 months. If whatever deficiencies they claim Obama did, they should have fixed it by now if they were competent. Mike, it has been you haven't proved that? No. Okay, I love when after 4 years they say, oh, it's Obama's fault. Yeah, I know. So when is it not going to be Obama's fault? And by the way, I am not like a big Obama fanatic. I didn't like the Affordable Care Act. I thought we needed a single-payer Medicare for all right away. I think the Obamacare was a compromise between the administration and insurance companies that still allowed them to rip us off and take us for what we're worth. But it was better than nothing. So you don't see me singing like Obama praise. I think Obama could have fought quite a bit harder I don't even talk for single payer, because I think whenever the single payer message is given to the American people come out wanting single payer Medicare for all until the lies come in. And when the lies come in and you counter the lies with facts, people start to think and say, oh, how did I allow them to lie? Folks, if you're just joining us, please go ahead and share the show. We ask you so kindly. And if you are on YouTube, don't forget to super chat us. Okay, let's see. Lee Grant says it's good that you stopped air travel from China early. That was no. Actually, the important thing that we have to do, if somebody did a good thing, you say it. Yes, it was good that he stopped travel from China. But remember what kind of travel he stopped from China. I mean, the businessmen and all these guys could still come in. Okay? Let's be clear about that. So, a lot of his Chinese stopping had to do with his own racism. I mean, two things do not have to be mutually exclusive. Okay, Mike says, I say, I've gotten tired of lies you're telling Egberto, but yet you're unable to give me one lie that I've told. Ralph Curtis said, go Egberto. Thank you, Senor Curtis. Bob Mama, strike. I don't know what that means, Bob Mama. You gave me a lot of strikes, Bob Mama. Is that saying that I struck the ball well? Or are you saying you don't agree with me? I'm not sure. You may want to correct that for me. Eric Ingram wants me to read something, but Eric, I don't see the link. You may have to put that in again. We have Bob Mama says, boycott mainstream media and their sponsors. Señor, estás correcto. You're absolutely right. Unite Progressive Media. Bob Mama. I've been trying to do that. Say, all of us that form this independent progressive media need to work together. I tell you something. I'm going to tell you a little story without calling any names, right? I have been trying for a long time to get several progressive outlets to work together, right? Unfortunately, whereas you'd see me come on my show and I would say, I support Daily Kos, I support Op-Ed News, I support Common Dreams, I support Democratic Underground, I support the Tim Black Show, I support the Tamara for Georgia Show, I support the all the TYT. I call out all these progressive shows so that if somebody that's listening to me had never heard of this and they hear it today, they'll say, there's another progressive show. Let me go check it out. Recently, I went on one of those other progressive shows, and they're on YouTube as well. And I said, you know what? I call this guy's show I call him out and give him, if you want to say free advertising, my stuff get over 10,000 per show, 10,000 different views per show. So, that's 10,000. Whenever I say his show's name, at least 10,000 people are going to see it. And so I went on his show and, he's getting a whole lot of messages. And I go ahead and I gave him a super chat. I gave him a super chat for, I think, $5 or somewhere like that. And I said, hey, man, give me a shout out. In other words, I wanted him to introduce me to his audience, just like any other progressive show can call into my show and say, hey, Egberto, I want to advertise this. Indivisible Houston calls in and advertise on my show just to say, hey, check us out, give us a donation at Indivisible Houston. Any progressive organization can call in, can ask me to throw something on my website for them. No problem, because what we want to do is build a progressive space. You know what this progressive person did? They go, oh man, you want me to go ahead and give you a shout out for $5? I'm like, wow. I give progressive shout outs for $0. I ask our listeners to support us by subscribing. I ask our listeners to support us because you find that we are providing something of value. And I'm just asking, hey, let's do this to grow the progressive sphere. 1 + 1 is not equal to 2 in growing media. 1 + 1 can equal 3. 1 + 1 can equal 10. Because if we work together, one of the biggest problems that we have as progressives is that we don't know, like that, and it doesn't apply to me because I support all progressives, whether I agree with them 100% or 75%. I will talk about where I disagree with them, but I would still say you are out there moving the ball forward. And that's why it hurts so badly if I see somebody with a progressive show or a progressive program and I say, hey, give me a shout out or something, and you get a pushback or whatever, it's like, oh my God, if we want to beat the system, because all the networks are together, they support each other. You may hear them, talk about ratings, but you do something that affects the flow. They support each other. That is the one thing progressive networks have got to do. First of all, we've got to support each other. And number two, we have got to ask our readers or listeners to support us a bit better. And in that light, let me just get to that part of the show, and then I'll get back with it. I got another great video to show you, a very important video to show you. But before that, let me just ask you guys to consider, please, go ahead and go to store.politicsdoneright.com. That is store.politicsdoneright.com. And if you take a look at the screen, If for those of you who are looking at the video, you can see the different T-shirts and mugs and books. Don't forget to get my book, As I See It, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. And if you want to know how I stay healthy, even being an activist behind the screen and in the field, this one here called Lose Weight and Be Fit Now. And I have a couple of other books that are coming out. But hey, the idea is this. In order for us to do this progressive media, in order for us to move forward, these guys have a ton of money coming in from the pharmaceuticals, coming in from the insurance companies, everywhere. All we got's you. But we don't need a lot to get our message out. All we need is you. So consider if you're on YouTube, giving us a super chat. If you are listening to us now, go to store.politicsdoneright.com, or you can become a subscriber by going to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. You can also just go ahead and contribute to the show by going to PayPal, and that is paypal.me/politicsdoneright. Again, that is paypal.me/politicsdoneright. But once again, don't forget, visit our store and get your T-shirt, your mug, your book, whatever you want to get. And by the way, my books are also sold at Amazon.com. So if you don't want to do it on our cart here at politicsdoneright.com, or you can actually get it at Amazon, whatever. So let's go back and get busy again with the show. I have to do that little thing, that little last, folks, but that's how we stay in business, to be able to give you this news. Anyhow, I was back talking about progressive media. Progressive media requires a lot. Here's what it requires. And, you know, I'm going to do a video to show you what a day in the life of this particular progressive blogger, progressive newscaster, progressive, you know, I write, I cut my own videos, I do everything here. That's why it takes 16 hours. I'm going to do a video that kind of goes through a day of how I go ahead and mix the videos, get the stuff from, I'm going to do all of that. And then I'm going to post that for our subscribers. But here's the deal, folks. Here's the deal. One of the reasons the right wing does what it does, one of the reasons why it has a lot of people confused, one of the reasons why they want to do that is because they need to have you confused. They need to have you believe that somehow the way things are, or the way they are supposed to be, or the way they only can be. I want to play this video about this professor who talks about how we are handling this particular downturn compared to how it is handled in Europe. And as you know, these countries in Europe have a much happier index. So check this out, and then on the other side, I'll finish handling all the questions or the comments, and then we'll then close out the show. But check this out. We're going to have to decide in the next few months whether we want to have a government that really looks out for us, or whether we want to have a government that just look out for corporations. And this may sound like cliche to a lot, but I want you to listen to this piece from Ali Velshi, and then we'll take it on the other side.
The U.S. is not the only nation facing severe economic challenges across both big and small businesses, but other countries are not experiencing the same mass unemployment that we're seeing in the United States. In a piece for the New York Times, University of California at Berkeley economics professor Gabriel Zuckman reports, quote, throughout the world, governments are protecting employment. Workers are keeping their jobs, even in industries that are shut down. The government covers most of their wage through direct payments to employers. Wages are, in effect, socialized for the duration of the crisis. Gabriel Zuckman joins me now. Gabriel, that's exactly what I was just talking to Sarah Nelson about. The concept of how the money was going to get to the airlines was that taxpayer money was going to go in the form of a grant to the airlines to keep its payroll going. That money could not be used for anything else, not for increases in salary, not for executive compensation, not for stock buybacks, not for dividends. Other countries have employed that model across the economic spectrum.
Yeah, and we think that's the right model. So last week, 6.6 million workers filed for unemployment insurance. That's 10 million workers over 2 weeks. The unemployment rate now is close to 10%. It might rise to as much as 20% or even 30%. And although unemployment is rising everywhere, in other countries it's not rising as fast as in the US. The reason why, throughout the world, governments are protecting employment, like the US is supposed to be doing for the airlines. but they're doing it, these other countries are doing it for all sectors of the economy. So just to give one example, in both the US and in Britain, the government is asking restaurant workers to stay at home. But in the UK, workers are receiving 80% of their pay, and they're essentially guaranteed to get their job back once the shutdown is over. Meanwhile, in the US, workers are laid off. They must file for unemployment insurance and wait for the economy to start up again before they can apply for a new job. And if all goes well, sign a new contract and resume working. So instead of safeguarding employment, what America is doing is it's relying on unemployment benefits, letting the unemployment rate increase to 20, maybe 30%, while other countries are saying, no, it's not a good idea to let the unemployment rate rise so much. We need to protect the employer-employee relationships because it will be conducive to a faster recovery once the shutdown is over.
Gabriel, there are some people who just have trouble with the idea that the government will pay people either their full salaries or some major percentage of it to stay home. They'll say that's socialism, but some of these other countries are saying that what it will do is ultimately not, it'll prevent the complete disintegration in industries, in which case you then have massive secular unemployment across the economy.
Yeah, and these countries include Denmark, but also the UK, Canada, Ireland, Germany. These are not socialist countries. Pretty much all wealthy nations are following the same model, with the one big exception being the US. And what these countries are doing is, in essence, they're telling businesses, don't lay off your workers. Don't liquidate your businesses. The government is going to cover payroll. The government is going to cover essential business maintenance costs. And it's a better approach because letting people lose their job is going to create huge anxiety. Losing one's job is a source of anxiety. Applying for unemployment benefits is burdensome. The unemployment system in the US is soon going to be swamped by tens of millions of claims. And when social distancing ends in the US, millions of employer-employee relationships will have been destroyed, and that's going to slow down the recovery. The battle for the speediest recovery really starts today.
Gabriel, thank you for your work on this. Gabriel Zuckman is an assistant professor of economics at the University of California in Berkeley.
Well, I've always said that business schools, these big-time business schools, Harvard or McComb School of Business in Texas or whatever, they take smart people, but, not necessarily the smartest. They produce smart people, but not necessarily the smartest. But the one thing we are sure that they do produce in general is a whole bunch of inhumane people that promote inhumanity. And how do we know that? Take a look at the difference in the way that the two systems operate. One says, logically, let's let the government take care of paying salaries to hold the status quo until the economy comes back, until the crisis is over. The other one says, let me wash my hands off of that. And, when it's all over, we will find another way to extract even more from the downtrodden, from those that we've harmed. On the way down, we are going to harm them again as we reinflate again. It's a different philosophy. Like I said, what our business schools have tended to produce is inhumanity. Yes, it creates for a richer few. It creates for the maximization of a whole lot of profits for a very few people. It creates what looks like a dynamic economy, but it is inhumane and it hurts people. And it's much more so. That's why the happiness index in the countries, countries like Denmark and these other areas, their happiness score is much higher than ours. What do we want? Do we want it better, or do we want to keep up this insanity? Do we want to keep up this inhumanity? November could have a lot to decide with that. Okay, let me go ahead now, and I'm going to start handling these messages from the bottom up. I go ahead and I see Brother Norman Reynolds says, let's note that our government did not blink about creating money to save airlines, but lament, how can we pay for Medicare for all? President president, and he's absolutely right about that. We have no problem when it's time to socialize corporations, but when it is time to be humane with humans, with our citizens, we have problems. MMT is not supported by our federal Senate, but they use it for business and not for people. For those who don't know what MMT is, that's modern monetary theory. And what El Señor Norman Reynolds is talking about is how we don't have a problem inflating our dollar, or not inflating the number of dollars that we have in the system to take care of corporations or to give tax cuts, or we don't mind extending the books on that issue, right? Somehow it does not cause the inflation. Here's a lie that you have to learn, okay? Inflation is caused when there is too much money chasing too little goods. The fact of the matter is we are so damn productive as a country. According to what Stephanie Kelton, the expert on MMT, said, we have a slack of about $665 billion per year in our economy that will not create inflation. And what does that mean in in numerical terms? It means we could go ahead and inflate the amount of dollars running by $665 billion to employ people, to give Medicare for all, to start working on a Green New Deal, to pay off student loans, all of that. We could pay off the student loans in 5 years, student-free loans in 5 years, and still have a lot of money to do all the other things, but we don't. And the reason we don't is that corporations need slaves. Slaves are people who are concerned about, will I have a job? They need to have the upper hand. The reason why, look, corporations, they want to mess with health, they don't. But they know that if they are one of the people who have health insurance, they have you by the pelotas. What do I mean by that? You're going to want to work for that job that gives you that good insurance, right? So therefore, that's an added benefit. Let me continue with the things. Let's see. More things. Michael Rudnin, replying to Michael. Ted Nolan, you were talking to somebody else. Let's see. Ted Nolan, Mike C. said, leftist ideology is eating itself as major liberal strongholds get slammed by coronavirus. That's a very dangerous statement. You would never hear me. What I said about the southern states is that the southern states, because they're not testing, the southern states, because they're not doing we don't know what's happening in the southern states. A lot of people that are dying from pneumonia, generally speaking, may have corona. We don't know. But here's the deal. That statement is dangerous because the deal is this. The blue states pay a lot of the expenses of the red states. So you don't want the blue states hurting, sir, because you can't afford Kentucky, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Mississippi. All of you pay less into taxes than you take out. All the states like New York, not even Texas is one for one. Not even Texas is a big supplier to the federal government. But New York, New Jersey, all these other states, they're the ones taking care of you. So all you red states that like to be this type of, remember, you are really welfare states. The blue states are subsidizing you. And to think about what's going on in the blue states is that they live in such compact environments. They're so cosmopolitan. They're so international. Yeah, this kind of stuff ravages them. But guess what? They have the resources to some extent. When it ravages Brenham, Texas, when it ravages Timbuktu, Arkansas, when it rambos Timbuktu, Kentucky, you won't have the resources. And then you'll be asking, really, is it the blue areas that's getting? No, it's just happening to be the blue areas because those are the entry points, brother. But it's coming to you. Do not rejoice in the unhealthiness of anybody. You never do that. Folks, if you're just joining us, please do remember to share our program. Please do remember to visit our store. Please do remember to support us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put that on the screen right now. Anyhow, let me continue with the questions. Vamos a ver. The policies that you support would kill my way of living. You don't care what the results of your policies are. It is all about intentions for you. Wrong. Please tell me one of my policies that will hurt you, Mr. CSAC, and then we can talk about it. You don't just go ahead and say my policy is bad. It'll hurt you. Let's talk about it, Mr. CSAC. I want to have a conversation with you as to how you think a policy I stand for is going to hurt you, because I do know the policies I stand for helps all Americans that are in the middle class, all Americans that are poor. And all I'm saying, these are numerical facts, okay? Let's go ahead. Derek Bell, no, it's not help someone keep others safe. I didn't quite get that, but anyhow. Lee Grant, it's heartless to stomp on this poor woman's grave to make your partisan political points. My political points are not partisan. My political points are human. Now, when it comes to stomping on the grave, I didn't stomp on her grave. I said, in fact, in the video, I said this likely otherwise nice woman. All the people I know with the ideology that Mike Cisak have and others, it's not that these are bad people. I like them all. I like Mike Cisak. I like Lee Grant. I like Ledo, my other conservative here. And you guys, I think deep inside you know it, because I talk to you and I entertain the conversation, brothers. I do entertain the conversation, and I do offer all of you respect, sirs. All right, let's see. Michael Rudnin said, coronavirus is a pandemic. 70% of the world's population will have been infected within 2 years. What's happening now is crammed port cities. Thank you, Mr. Rudnin. People travel not knowing they're infected because they're asymptomatic but contagious. It's a short delay. Michael Rudnin, that's why I like intelligence, right? And by the way, I'm not trying to take away CSAC's intelligence. What I call CSAC, and CSAC, you're my friend, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I consider you a friend. I don't know you. You're somewhere in Kentucky. But here's the deal. I consider you a friend, but you're willfully ignorant because you're trying to adapt your ideology to reality, brother. We could sit down and have a coffee any day. Julia Goodman-Deschner. Mike Cisak change. Okay, Julia, maybe did I miss a comment that you made before? I don't know. But anyhow, before I leave, I want to give a shout out to all the folks that are leaving messages. So Michael Rudnin, thank you for being here. Derek Bell, thank you for being here. Bruce Pilar, thank you for being here. Kathleen Hayes, thank you for being here. Lauren Sims, thank you for being here. Let's see who I've missed. Michael Cisak, always glad to have you here. And so is Lee Grant. Ralph Curtis, thank you for being here. Let's see, who else am I missing? If I miss you, please forgive. Bob Mama, thank you for being here. Eric Ingram, thank you for being here. Vamos a ver quién más tengo aquí. Eric Ingram, I think I called you already. And let's see. Norman Reynolds, my brother right here in town. Welcome and thank you for coming back. Thank you for leaving messages. Para ver. Vamos a ver. I think I called you already as well. Okay, and I'm almost done. Ted Nelson, Ted Nolan, thank you for being here. Okay, Kathy Courtney, my friend, thank you for being here. Julie Goodman-Deschner, thank you for being here as well. David Stark, thank you for being here. And Eric Goodman, thank you, bro. Look, I want to thank all of you guys for spending time with me. I want to thank all of you for being a part of our posse. I'd like to urge all of you to please share our program. I want to ask you as well to please, if you have the wherewithal, I need you to subscribe if you are able to. And that's a subscription, patreon.com/politics done right. I do need your subscriptions to stay there, so please consider being a part of the show. Well, you are a part of the show. This show belongs to you. Look, let me be frank. This show belongs to you whether you are a subscriber or not. I give perks to subscribers because I have to do something, a little something for my subscribers for putting some skin in the game. But this show belongs to you all. You know what? Come on. I'm a guy that wants everybody here. But I do want you to subscribe. I do need that monthly little tiny bit, that coffee a month or 2 coffees a month or 3 coffees a month. That's what it turns out to be, my subscriptions. So please consider doing that. Or please consider contributing to the show again via paypal.me/politics done right. Folks, I love you all. I am the type of guy that just want humanity, want us to be humane, want us to be the best that we can be. That's all. I grew up back in Panama. I came to the States on a dream, what we thought the United States was. For the beginning, I think it was kinda, but never really. But the one thing this country have over a whole lot of other countries is the ability to change. Structurally, it has what it takes, the ability to change. And one of the things that progressives like myself promote is let's use that elastic clause within the Constitution to change this country so that we really become everything that we preach and tell people we are. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out! Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.